1, 2, 3, 4.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come two, they've got nothing but the dream. But it takes different strokes, it takes different strokes, it takes different strokes to rule the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Babylon 5 podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? How has your week been? I hope your week has been phenomenal. Calling this episode 162, Whatchamacallit. Didn't have a name, so we're gonna call it Whatchamacallit, because why not? Yesterday after work I went to the gym, and then I was on the elliptical in at Hotworks. There, I said it. That's where I would work out. I was on the elliptical. It's in a sauna. And after my third one, I was probably going to do 4, which would be an hour in the sauna on the elliptical. But after the third, this gnarly headache came over me. I just started to feel terrible. But I went home, drank water, ate. And then I don't know, I still just started to feel worse. I woke up this morning I feel fucking terrible, even worse than I did yesterday. So it's later right now. It's only 8, but yeah, I don't know. My throat is still a little scratchy here. But my lovely, lovely wife Sarah, she went and got some vitamin C, some cough medicine, whatever, some Sambucol, elderberry lozenges. See, that's my jam right there, ladies and gentlemen. Them elderberry lozenges, that's a cheat code right there, ladies and gentlemen. That shit'll fucking have you regular, will keep you regular. She went and hooked it up with the Sambucol, elderberry lozenges. Just a care package, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. I feel a lot better than I did this morning. Still some slight effects. You guys aren't going to see my face via this episode. It's just going to do audio this week. Just not quite feeling the video aspect of it right now. Let's just phone it in, if you will. We're going to briefly touch on Atlanta. It was an okay episode. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about my boy Floyd Mayweather, who had another boxing exhibition this past weekend. No UFC fights this past weekend. As I mentioned last week, we're going to talk about this interesting news with Conor McGregor. I don't usually talk about MMA news because usually MMA news is just fighters tweeting at each other. But this is actual MMA news that I don't see a lot of people talking about. So we're going to talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to give predictions for next weekend's fight card. The UFC returns, UFC Fight Night, Dern, Xiaonan. So, yeah, I'm pretty looking forward to that card. Every time there's a week off from fights, I get real thirsty for fights, ladies and gentlemen. Real thirsty. I mean, I'm thirsty for fights as it is. You know, I did see Floyd, as we're going to talk about later tonight. I didn't even know that shit was happening. I was just laid up in bed, and my nose, I was like so congested and stuffed up, couldn't really breathe. And I was just up feeling miserable, and I was like looking on my phone, and then I saw that Floyd was about to box in like 30 minutes after I looked at that. I was like, oh shit, all right. Floyd's got an exhibition, so I'll watch that. I had no idea that was going on, but I'm thirsty. I was thirsty for that action. It was like the only thing that was going on was MMA Twitter is just beefing with each other. It's like the more people as I start to gain followers in the MMA Twitter world, it's like every week a different group of people that I've just started to communicate with are starting to go after each other on Twitter. It's fucking wild. It repeatedly happens. So I guess that's just what happens when there's no fights going on. People get so thirsty for that interaction, for that crash. They just start beefing via Twitter. Them Twitter fingers get to fucking swanging and banging. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? They get to swanging and banging. And I found it quite interesting. Quite entertaining, to say the least. I feel like I definitely was entertained by the shenanigans on MMA Twitter this weekend. Happy not to be involved. Yeah, I'll just be thirsting over. I don't even know, man. Twitter's weird, man. It's like the Wild West. I mean, it used to be the real Wild West out there, but it's fucking wild. I don't even really know what niggas be talking about. I don't even know if they're joking, if they're all being sarcastic about half this shit. I don't even understand it, to be honest with you guys. I don't even really care to understand it. I just see it as entertaining. I'm just here as a spectator. But if you guys would like to follow this account on Instagram and Twitter and see what's going on in MMA Twitter, follow me at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com or Babylon5pod@gmail.com. You can hit that like button anywhere you're listening to this podcast. Go ahead and follow this podcast on Twitch. If you think I won't lead you astray, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Babylon5. You guys can cop some merchandise at teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/stores. Oh, wait. Patreon.com/Babylon5Pod. Sorry. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So Atlanta, the episode was called Born to Die. I don't know. It was an interesting episode. I wanted to watch this for a second time. I didn't get around to it. I'm pretty much like I've been like resting all day. Like I just got up maybe like 2 hours ago. Yeah, probably like 2 hours ago. So I didn't get a chance to like watch it, but it was an interesting episode. It wasn't like it didn't pop out to me like, yo, this is the sickest episode ever. There's like a storyline where Paperboy like got hired by some white dude to work with his son to help him be more hood, help him be more street. Turn it off. I didn't even realize I still had that on. I'm like, that's probably loud as fuck in the background. And to help him be more street. And it's just these white boys making these corny ass TikTok ass songs. I wouldn't say it's rap music. Just because they're mocking rap, I wouldn't say it's rap music. It's definitely not rap. And because that shit they're doing is a mockery. It's not rap. Rap is actually something. Like, there's something to it. So that's not rap. I'm not. It's pop music. You know. So he meets these people. He gets hired to. They're gonna pay him $1 million to help this kid be more street. And then while he's there, he meets this other black dude that's with another white rapper, pop artist or whatever. I don't know if they're rappers, man, because it's weird, the shit that they're making. But what was the shit they were calling? I don't know. It was real dumb. The Ricky Ticky or some shit like that, or it was fucking weird. It was pretty weird. But the black dude he meets up with, he's like, yo, me and some guys, we get together and talk about like what's the next level or whatever shit outside of this rap shit. And he meets up with them, and it's this whole system where they're just like, the way to get successful now is to find a young white avatar, and then through that young white avatar, you win Grammys and make a ton of money. That's what was going on there. And then on the other side, you had like this whole. I didn't really understand the storyline with D'Angelo. I probably got to look into that, because like Dern was trying to sign D'Angelo. And he's at this whole weird way before they let him go meet with D'Angelo. And by the time they let him meet with D'Angelo, it's like, it's not D'Angelo. It's just like some other nigga. I don't know. It's fucking weird. I didn't really understand it too much. I probably got to read up on it. It's called Born to Die. There's some other shit that happens in there. With Paperboy's young white avatar. There's some weird shit that happens there. But I saw it because, like, I don't know. There's one scene where dude walks up and he hugs Paperboy. He's like, I haven't seen you in forever. And, like, it's like, it must have been, like, 2 days. And my wife was like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, that nigga's high as fuck. He's off that shit. I can see it. It's actually his last scene in the episode Born to Die. But they get that Grammy. Floyd Mayweather. Check out that episode of Atlanta. It's the best show on television. I think I just gotta watch it again, maybe read up on it. There's probably some subtleties that I wasn't picking up on. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that's what it is. There's just some subtleties in there outside of the whole. Like with the D'Angelo shit, I didn't understand that at all. Did not really understand that. But yeah, Floyd Mayweather, as I saw, was doing an exhibition in Japan. I'm not sure the guy. The guy he was boxing is an MMA fighter. And it was a weird thing that happened, right? So before the boxing match starts, they give a bouquet to the Japanese MMA fighter. And the announcers are saying, of course, this is customary in Japan that you give the fighters a bouquet of roses. I believe bouquet of roses before the fight. So they gave homeboy the roses. Then they cut to the guy who's going to give Floyd his roses. He starts to walk up to Floyd, and then he just throws the flowers down. And then he turns to walk away, then stops and, like, stares Floyd down, and then leaves the ring. And Floyd just, like, It's just looking like, okay. And then he just leans down, picks up the flowers, hands it to the guy next to him, and they just continue. Like, Floyd was just not fazed by that bullshit. But that was fucking crazy out of a show of disrespect. Even the announcers was like, whoa, I've never seen this happen. like they've never seen somebody do that. And homeboy threw Floyd's flowers down to the ground. But Floyd goes in there and finishes this guy in the second round. Floyd was getting touched in this fight, man. At 45, I was like, I know this is an exhibition and it wouldn't count toward his professional record, but that boy was getting touched. He was snapping that head back. He rocked. He like made Floyd stumble at least twice, I believe, in that fight. I was like, what the fuck? Well, not really what the fuck, because Floyd's 45. So I was like, see? I don't know why he keeps doing this. Especially if they're not. Because it didn't look like this was like like the guy he was boxing in this boxing exhibition, not a fight. The guy he was boxing in this exhibition here, he was coming for Floyd's head. He was coming for this man's head. My point is, if these are real people are actually trying to win this shit and trying to make a name off beating Floyd, bro, you're 45. Let's cut this shit out. He talking about boxing Conor again. We're going to talk about Conor in a second here, but Conor's huge. Conor's put on a lot of muscle lately. He's put on a lot of muscle lately. I don't know if Floyd needs to be doing too many more of these exhibitions. I mean, at this point, he could just like focus on helping the youth, the younger fighters, the younger boxers, I mean. Maybe if he has any MMA fighters. I know he was talking about doing the fight promotion, I believe, or managing MMA fighters. If he's training MMA fighters, then yeah, he can help young fighters. But otherwise, help young boxers in this boxing world on the come up, but given this amazing knowledge of the greatest boxer of all time, the best ever, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Because I don't see any reason why for him to be out there almost getting knocked out by this dude in a fucking exhibition. I see no reason for it. Just like start coaching niggas at this point. You'll be the best coach in the game. But as I said with Conor McGregor, man, I don't know if it's time. I don't know if he should fight Conor again. Conor, over the last few months, has seemingly put on a lot of muscle pretty quickly. I saw a video of him flexing, and I was like, holy fuck. Showed my wife, like, yo, do you think this man's on steroids? And she's just like immediately like, yes. Like, I'm just like, holy fuck, that doesn't look natural. He looks even bigger in the last post I've seen. And then what I just saw reported on this YouTube channel, Conor McGregor has not been tested since his last fight. He's not been tested from USADA since his last fight. He looks like he's on steroids right now. And he's not been tested in, over a year? He's not been tested by USADA in over a year. And when both McGregor's camp and the UFC, when asked to comment on this, they both refused to comment on this. And nobody's talking about this. Homeboy looks like he's on steroids right now. Like he's using steroids right now. He looks huge. James Lynch. Shout out to James Lynch. Is where I saw that. Homeboy looks huge. He looks like he's aged quite a bit over the last year. And he's not being drug tested. So I don't know if boxing Floyd Mayweather or if Floyd boxing Conor at this point makes too much sense because it looks like Conor is definitely not, he's not looking the cleanest right now. Why did they refuse to comment? Why is it public knowledge out there that he's not being tested and nobody's talking about this? I wonder if he is going to fight again for the UFC. Isn't he an owner? As Tony Ferguson said, like, isn't it illegal for the owner to compete under a corporation, like under a whatever that he owns? What is this? Is it a corporation that he was saying or whatever? But you know what I'm saying. Tony Ferguson was saying, isn't it illegal? It's illegal. It is illegal for him to fight under the promotion that he owns. Conor's part owner. So it's illegal for him to fight. But at the same time, as part owner, you know what I'm saying? The UFC declined to comment and McGregor declined to comment. But it's like, you just asked the same person twice. You just asked the same person. He is the owner. He's one of the owners. He's part owner. You know what I'm saying? Which is clearly why he's not being tested. They hire. UFC pays USADA to test their fighters. And Conor McGregor is the biggest money maker. All right? Conor's the biggest money maker, and he's co-owner. He's part owner of the fucking UFC. I think he has say that he's not going to be fucking drug tested because he's not being drug tested. And he looks fucking huge. Those were the memes, like, in his prime, about to fight Floyd Mayweather, he was a lot smaller. But here he is looking fucking gigantic while recovering from a broken leg. He looks gigantic. He just broke his leg. He's fucking huge. It's crazy. It's crazy. Nick Diaz. All right. He was right. All you motherfuckers are on steroids. All you motherfuckers are on steroids. Nick Diaz was right. Shout out to the legend, Nick Diaz, man. But that's just it. When you're the owner and you're fighting under that promotion, I guess you can pick the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like they said, I remember it's fucking wrestling at this point. You know, I remember being a kid and they said that like there was the whole lawsuit with like Vince McMahon and he like had to testify that he gave wrestlers steroids, and then they were supposed to like implement like this strict drug testing policy for like wrestlers or whatever. But I'm looking at Vince like, you telling me that nigga's taking a drug test? It's like a 60-year-old man. He's fucking gigantic. Looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Are you fucking kidding me? You're telling me that guy's not on steroids? That's exactly what this is. It's fucking wrestling. That is what this is. So we got UFC Fight Night Dern Xiaonan, ladies and gentlemen. Mackenzie Dern versus Yan Xiaonan. Now, as I look at, you know, these fighters, I say it's very obvious that Yan is the better striker coming here. Dern has stepped up her striking, definitely. Over her last few fights, you have seen improvements, but if they stay standing, Yan Xiaonan is clearly the better striker. But we've seen, like with the Carla Esparza fight, we've seen real vulnerabilities for Yan Xiaonan in the grappling. You know, when in the come up, I was looking at the lady she fought, and I was like, this isn't too like impressive in hindsight. You know what I'm saying? It's not too impressive in hindsight. I'm glad I got Tapology up already, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm looking at Xiaonan and her recent loss. She's on a 2-fight losing streak. All right, coming into this fight, she lost to Marina Rodriguez. All right, via split decision. And that was a majority striking. It's just like a kickboxing match for the most part. She lost to Carla Esparza. I just watched that fight yesterday. Esparza just absolutely dominated her on the ground. Jan had no idea what to do on the ground there. She put her in the crucifix and finished that fight. She had no idea what to do there. And so I believe that if Mackenzie Dern is successful in getting Jan down early in the first round, it's going to end in the first round. I don't see Jan being able to handle the jiu-jitsu acumen of Mackenzie Dern in this 5-round fight. So that's it. Like, if Dern can, this is Dern's fight to lose, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, because with such a huge advantage in the grappling here against Jan, like, this should be an obvious win for Dern here. Even if it's like a TKO from, I think she's just gonna dominate Jan with the grappling here. If she's able to get it to the ground, she's just gonna absolutely dominate with the grappling here. And we know we've seen Jan cater to try to, like, see what her plan was against Carla Esparza was just like, whatever, people are gonna take me down, so she's just gonna play her game and come forward, and immediately was taken down. It was 10-8 in the first round, immediately taken down in the second round, and just had no idea what to do there. So if it goes to the ground, it's Mackenzie Dern's fight easily. Easily. In the co-main event, you got Randy Brown versus Francisco Trinaldo, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm definitely rolling with the streaking Randy Brown taking on a 44-year-old Francisco Trinaldo. All right, 44-year-old Francisco Trinaldo. Randy Brown is 6'3", with a reach of 78 inches. It's 44-year-old Francisco Trinaldo is 5'9", with 8 inches of disadvantage. It is a 70-inch reach. All right, I don't think this is gonna go too well for Francisco Trinaldo. It's like these guys are fighting in two different weight. They should be fighting in two different weight classes, by the looks of this. But Francisco Trinaldo is 44 years old and probably can't really cut down to 155. He's got a record of 28-8. He's on a 2-fight win streak right now. Recently finished, he beat Danny Roberts. Before that, Dwight Grant, and he lost to Muslim Salikov. Yeah, I don't know. He beat Bobby Green? I don't like that. See, that's what I'm saying. What was that contested at? What was that fight contested at? Probably 155. Yeah, 155. So, it's just that Trinaldo is 44 years old. He probably can't cut down to 155 anymore. He's up against someone who, at 6'3", with his reach, how tall he is and his reach, I feel like he could fight at, if he wanted to, could fight at 185. And he's bigger than a lot of 185ers. He's gonna be looking like a weight bully in here, Randy Brown, versus a Francisco Trinaldo who's fighting in a weight class he probably shouldn't be. So I'm definitely rolling with Randy Brown here by domination. I think Brown's just going to be too big, too much for the 44-year-old Francisco Trinaldo. A lot of people were kind of hating on this card. I mean, I'll hate on a card after the card. I can't hate on a card before the card. I have to see it. I'm interested, it's not even random. I'm just looking at these fighters. I'll try to look at who looks intrigued. So there's Julia Stoliarenko versus Chelsea Chandler fight. That fight looks pretty interesting to me. It's a catch weight of 140 pounds. It's Chelsea Chandler's coming out of Invicta, I believe. Is that where she's coming out of? She's the favorite here, according to Tipology. Her record's 4-1. Yeah, she's coming from Invicta. I watched a couple fights with her. She's pretty good. She's pretty good, I would say. Well, she's up against Stoliarenko, who's coming off a victory of Jessica Rose Clark, who, has a history of just no armbar defense. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they have the blueprint on how to beat Jessica Rose Clark in. But other than that, she's on a 3-fight losing streak to Alexis Davis, Julia Avila, and Yana Kunitskaya. 3-fight losing streak when she came into the UFC and was finally able to get a victory over Jessica Rose Clark. And we got Chelsea Chandler, who's on a 4-fight winning streak. I think... when I look at the film, I honestly feel like Chelsea Chandler is going to get a victory here. She's an inch taller. They got the same reach. She's a year younger. Stoliarenko just got her, she's coming off a victory here. So maybe the confidence is a little higher than it has been. But she's fighting someone who typically fights at 145 pounds. While Stoliarenko usually fights at 136. I feel like Chelsea's going to be a little bigger than her. This is why they're fighting at a catch weight. Chelsea Chandler fought in Invicta after her last fight. She called out Norma Dumont and Macy Chiasson. She was in Invicta. She called out Norma Dumont and Macy Chiasson. So now she's fighting Julia Stoliarenko. And I believe this is going to be a pretty interesting fight here. As I said, people, when they complain and say, like, oh, this card sucks, it's like, to me, it sounds like you just don't know. You don't watch enough fights. You don't know the fighters personally too well, so you're saying it's a bad card. But you got to watch the fights. This could be card of the year. You got the card starting with Jessica Penne versus Tabitha Ricci. Alexei Oleinik versus Ilir Latifi. I think, dude, what happened to Ilir Latifi? What the fuck happened to Ilir Latifi? Where's this man been? He rarely fights at all. You got Maxim Grishin versus Felipe Lins. These are good fights on this card. Joaquim Silva versus Jesse Ronson. Brendan Allen is in action, ladies and gentlemen, versus Christoph Jocko. That's an underrated fight right there. That fight is going under the radar. It should be higher. It should be at least main card, I feel like. Brendan Allen versus Christoph Jocko. That's a main card fight right there. Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti. I feel like they should have opened the card with that fight. Set the tone, because that's gonna be a banger right now, right there. That's the headline for the prelims. Is Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti. Then you got Mike Davis versus I forget how to pronounce this nigga's name. Vyacheslav Borishev. Who I like Borishev. Let's see who's the favorite here according to Topology. Yeah, everybody's rolling with Davis here. Who did Borishev just fight? Oh, he just lost to Mark DeCasey. DeCasey looked great in that fight though. If I recall. How long? What time? When did this happen? Back in March, yeah, I believe, yeah. Yeah, DeCasey looked great in there. And he recently, beat Dakota Bush. I don't know who the fuck Dakota Bush is. Dakota Bush is no longer in the UFC. 2 losses in the UFC, and then now he's back to the minus. Mike Davis, on the other hand here. Oh, he beat Mason Jones. This guy, Thomas Gifford. I don't know who Thomas Gifford is. Oh, he fought, like, the Gilbert Burns? And he went to the second round with Gilbert and lost via rear naked choke. Like, that's going to happen to anybody. That's going to happen to anybody. That's his debut, was Gilbert Burns. That's his UFC debut, was Gilbert Burns. This is weird to me. Because he's got fights with, like, Sadiq Yusuf. And he lost to Sadiq Yusuf. I don't know, Dana White Contender Series. Doesn't Sadiq Yusuf... Because this fight here is 55 pounds, I believe. I believe it's 155 pounds. Yeah, this is a lightweight fight. So that's weird to me. Because I believe Sadiq Yusuf is not a lightweight. Yeah, he's 140. He's a featherweight, 145 guy. At 5'9", Mike Davis is a 6 foot tall lightweight. Fighting featherweights. But his only loss in the UFC is to the Gilbert Burns back in 2019, which that's going to happen to anybody. But that should be an interesting fight. First fight on the main card. Then you have the aforementioned Sadiq Yusuf versus Don Shainless. Shainis. Don Shainis. I'm unfamiliar with Don Shainis. I believe this will be his UFC debut. He's a Cage Warriors champion. Cage Warriors featherweight champion. Record 12-3. 5-fight win streak here. Any noticeable names on his? No one. Oh yeah, I don't know niggas from Cage Warriors. I don't know why I thought I'd recognize. I don't know motherfuckers from Cage Warriors. How do I know to find? I don't know how to watch Cage Warriors shit. I don't know why I thought I did. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. There's some good fights here, man. It's some good fights. If you like fights, this is going to be a pretty good card for here. Yeah, I'm interested in, I'm thirsty for fights, ladies and gentlemen. So we also got Bo Nickel is fighting on Tuesday, I believe. I believe Bo Nickel is fighting on Tuesday. Hell yeah. I didn't even put that in my notes. I forgot about it. Yeah, Bo Nickel in the headline versus this guy Donovan Beard. 7-1. He is coming out of CFFC. What is Cage Fury? Cage Fury Fighting Championship. All right. So he is... Oh, he's got victory. He's got submission victories. He's got knockout victories. He's up against Bo Nichols, a big black guy. 6'2", Donovan Beard. Got the 6'1" Bo Nickel with a record of 2-0 in the main event here. I'm definitely going to go with Bo, just because the wrestling, as we've seen, tends to nullify the jiu-jitsu. I don't know if that knockout power is really going to go into effect here. All right. I believe, hopefully, we see Bo Nickel get a contract here. Makes no sense that that Raul Rosas Jr. is 17 years old and he did not finish his opponent and he got a contract. But they told Bo, like, nah, yeah, you dominated this guy, but you better come back later. You better come back like a month from now and fight again after you dominated this guy. Even though we're going to give a 17-year-old kid a fucking contract after he doesn't finish this guy. And I just, I don't know. It seemed like he's learned a lot. He's able to sponge a lot of techniques, but the fight IQ wasn't where it needs to be. But Bo finished this guy in his fight. But whatever. It is what it is. I'm hype. I'm going to be watching the Contender Series. Yeah. And if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can email this podcast at babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You guys can hit that like button, hit that 5 stars anywhere you're listening to this podcast. Go to twitch.tv/Babylon5 to follow me on Twitch. You guys can get some merchandise at teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my Niji. Be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod. And, yeah. Oh, you know, I look at this and I was like, when I talked about Atlanta, I was like, damn, am I missing something? And it just hit me like, I didn't put any notes for House of the Dragon. Long story short, they did more weird shit last week. I think the new episode's about to drop in like 5 minutes from now, actually. It's 8:55. Either it just dropped at 8 or it's about to drop right now. But more weird shit happened. Nigga, they aged the people up a little bit. And I didn't even know a fucking wedding was going on. That's how fucking weird it was. Like, you got the cousin over here who was gonna marry her fucking big cousin King, this old ass man, and now she's just like all about the fucking Uncle Damien, cousin Damien over here. But now that this cousin wants fucking Uncle Damien, the princess is jealous because she wants her uncle. What the fuck? Who writes this shit? Who writes this shit? Am I talking about Game of Thrones or the Trailer Park Boys? Who writes this shit? I'm gonna keep watching because I want to know what's gonna happen with all my Valerian niggas. Where are my niggas? So I'm gonna watch, but goddamn, who writes this shit? I didn't even understand a fucking wedding was going on. I'm just sitting here like, why the fuck is everybody trying to fuck their uncle over there? They treating him like, yo, he's the prize right here. You had the princess is at the wedding to her cousin. She about to marry her cousin. Nigga, this whole shit's weird. She's at the wedding is the princess to her cousin. But the whole time she's mad that the sister, her cousin's sister, her also cousin, is over there trying to fuck her uncle. Now she's jealous because she wants to fuck her uncle, but while she's at a wedding for her and to marry her fucking cousin. This show's fucking weird, man. It's fucking weird. God damn, dude. I can't be the only one that's seeing this shit like this. Like, what the fuck? Who is writing this shit? Thank you guys for being here another week, man. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. And I'm going to watch that shit. And I'll give you my reaction to this, whatever weird shit's about to happen in this episode. Oh, it's so fucking weird. And I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.